What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel, and it's time to give you my upset alert games heading into week number 10 of the 2023 college football season. We are now officially heading into the last month of the college football season. We are now heading into the month of November, and this is where the chaos starts to happen. The month of November is usually full of upsets, so now we're going to give you my upset alert games heading into week number 10 of the first weekend of month of November. And looking back to my upset alert video from last week and the last weekend of the month of October, we just had a couple upsets that happened. It was Oregon State losing to Arizona. That was a big upset there. A lot of people predicted that one to be an upset anyway, and then the big one was Kansas upsetting Oklahoma. But we missed one game that was a really big upset. That was Georgia Tech upsetting North Carolina. We should have probably put that game on the upset alert video from last weekend because North Carolina now has lost 2 straight, to Virginia and then Georgia Tech. So we missed that game there. But again, we had a couple upsets that happened this past weekend. And again, how this upset alert video works, I give you 8 games total, 4 games each, for the games that are most likely to be upsets, and then 4 games that are most not likely to be upsets. And again, if the upset is in single digits, in order for me to call it an upset, the spread has to be single digits in order for me to call it an upset. And again, I just do top 25 matchups and top 25 versus unranked matchups. And again, whoever that highest ranked team is going to be on upset alert this weekend. And also the playoff rankings came out officially yesterday, so now we're going to be doing top 25 playoff teams are going to be on upset alert now for the rest of these 4 weeks of the 2023 season. So let's get right into it here. We'll start with our upset alert games here for week number 10. We'll start with the most not likely category. We'll start with this one. We got Ohio State and Rutgers, Big Ten matchup here at noon Eastern time on CBS. The Buckeyes are favored by 18.5 in this one, and the over and under is at 42.5. Ohio State ranked number 1 yesterday in the playoff rankings. I definitely agree with the committee from yesterday putting Ohio State at number 1. They have an excellent resume, of course, with wins over Notre Dame and Penn State. Ohio State did not look good this past weekend against Wisconsin, but the defense again proved to be dominant. This has been a very dominant very dominant defense, I should say. The offense has been absolutely inconsistent. But Ohio State here heading on the road to play at Rutgers. Rutgers not a bad team. According to their record and everything, it's not just about the record, it's just the competitiveness of this Rutgers team. I don't really expect an upset here to happen, but again, this is the month of November. Upsets usually happen, but again, I don't think the Rutgers are on Ohio State's level, not even close. I don't really expect an upset here to happen. I think the Buckeyes defense is once again going to dominate this game. And again, I do expect a low-scoring game here, even though Ohio State's favored by 18.5 in this one. But again, Ohio State here and Rutgers, noon Eastern time here in the Big Ten Conference. And again, the over and under is at 42.5, and the game will be on CBS. Next game, we got Missouri and Georgia, 3:30 Eastern time on CBS. The Bulldogs favored by 15.5, and the over and under is at 54.5. Georgia looked pretty good this past weekend. They're ranked number 2 in the playoff rankings. Obviously, they only had a couple of dominant wins this year against Florida and Kentucky, but Georgia looked really good this past weekend. Probably the best I've seen Georgia against a really good quality team. Kentucky was a really good team, but Florida was like a really good, decent team, and Georgia really absolutely embarrassed them. Missouri, they're coming in out of a bye week this weekend. Do I think Missouri has a chance to make this game pretty interesting? Obviously, I think this is a trap game for Georgia, obviously, but I think Georgia is definitely going to be, a big favorite in this one. Obviously, the game's not on upset alert because Georgia is favored by double digits. But again, Georgia, they're playing in Athens. I do feel very confident that they're going to be confident in this game. I think the defense is going to be playing pretty well in this one. I know Missouri has a great offense, but Georgia I don't really see them losing in Athens. I know Missouri competed with Georgia last year, but that game was in the month of September, and, teams are not, better by that time. And, it's in the November now. Georgia obviously is a better team than they were, in the first half of the year. Will Georgia be that kind of same team that we saw from this past weekend against Florida? Will they be dominant in this game? Hard to say. Obviously, Missouri's coming out of a bye week. That does help them out, but again, I think Georgia wins this game. It's not going to be a game that really is going to be a high-scoring game. I think this is a low-scoring type game. But again, if Georgia plays like they did from this past weekend, they're going to win this game pretty easily. But this game will be at 3:30 Eastern time on CBS. Next, we got Oregon State and Colorado, 10 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN. Oregon State favored by 13.5, and the over and under is at 62. How does Oregon State respond after a loss to Arizona this past weekend? I had them on upset alert from this past weekend, but this weekend I don't have them on upset alert. But they're heading on the road here. Very tough place to play here against Colorado. Colorado is 4-4. They're not a bad team, not a bad 4-4 team, but they've been very inconsistent now ever since they got into Pac-12 play. This is a Colorado team that started out 3-0 with wins, against a top 25 team like TCU, then Nebraska, then, of course, their rival Colorado State. And ever since that time, Colorado has just been very inconsistent, especially on the defensive side of the football. Colorado has a terrible defense. I think Oregon State's going to score a lot of points in this game. I don't really expect an upset here to happen. But again, it is a home game for Colorado. The home crowd will be behind this one. And again, you can kind of expect an upset here to happen because obviously it's the Pac-12. The Pac-12 has been a very crazy conference this year. I mean, let's be honest. Anybody can win the Pac-12. Oregon State, number 16 in the playoff rankings as well. I do feel very comfortable, for them to be at number 16 in the playoff rankings in my reaction video from yesterday. But again, this is going to be a very tough game. I think this is kind of like a trap game for Oregon State. But again, I don't really see an upset here happening. I think Colorado has just been very inconsistent. If you look at their past few weeks now, they have just not been a very good team at all. But this game will be at 10 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN. And again, Oregon State favored by 13.5. Let's go to my last game now that is most not likely to be an upset alert this weekend. And that last game is going to be Penn State and Maryland. This game will be at 3:30 Eastern time on Fox. Penn State favored by 10 points, and the over and under is at 51. I think this definitely should be an upset alert type game, even though Penn State's favored by double digits. Maryland is not a bad team. They're sitting there with a record of 5-3. This might be the best 5-3 team in the Big Ten Conference. Maryland has a pretty good offense. The defense may not seem like it's really good enough, but this team has a really good offense. Penn State really was inconsistent this past weekend against Indiana. They were still able to come away with the win, but their defense gave up too many points in that game. And is this the same Penn State team that we've been seeing overall early in the year, or are they like a different team now? We don't really know the question to that. We don't really know the answer to that question. But Penn State here, they were ranked number 11 in the playoff rankings. I think this definitely should be an upset alert type game if I was going to make this like an upset alert. I think this game should definitely be at like maybe 4 or 6 points on the spread number. But again, Maryland has a great offense. I think they're going to compete in this game. It's obviously a home game. Watch out for this one to be an upset. I mean, if Penn State loses this game, this is definitely going to ruin their playoff hopes and definitely their chances to make a Big Ten championship. And I think I would definitely pick Michigan to still beat Penn State pretty easily. But again, as of right now, I think Penn State's going to compete with Michigan. But if they lose this game to Maryland, I don't think they have a really good chance to upset Michigan, even though it's at home. So this game will be at 3:30 Eastern time on Fox. And again, Penn State favored by 10 points. And these are my games that are most not likely to be upset alert games heading into this weekend. Let's now get into the most important ones, the upset alert games for this upcoming weekend. And we'll start with this one. We got Kansas State and Texas. This game's at noon Eastern time on Fox. Texas favored by 4 points in this one, and the over and under is at 51 in this one. Texas, no Quinn Ewers in this game. They were very good, though, this past weekend against BYU. The backup quarterback looked really good, but this will be even a tougher game here for the backup quarterback for Texas. Kansas State has been better each and every single game the last few weeks. This is a team now that is back in the playoff top 25. They're also ranked in the real top 25 in the AP poll. I also had this Kansas State team ranked in my top 25 as well because they definitely deserve to be ranked after what they have done in the last few weeks. This is not going to be an easy game here for Texas. This is definitely a trap game for them. Even though it's a home game for Texas, I think this is still a really big trap game. Obviously, the Big 12 Conference is going to be crazy the rest of the way. We could very well see likely an upset here to happen. Again, no Quinn Ewers in this game, and that's definitely a huge loss for this Texas team. So watch out for this one to be an upset if you're a Texas fan, and watch out if you're a Kansas State fan. You could probably pull off a huge upset in this one. But this game will be at noon Eastern time on Fox, and again, the Longhorns are favored by 4 points. Next, we got Washington and USC here, 7:30 Eastern time on ABC. Washington favored by 3.5. And look at the over and under. It's at 76. So they're predicting a lot of scoring points in this game. Washington has not looked good in the last couple of weeks according to their games. You look at that game against Stanford, they were very inconsistent on the defensive side of the football. And then a couple of weeks they were very inconsistent on the offensive side of the football. So Washington, got ranked number 5 in the playoff rankings. I think just because based off of those last 2 games and the performances that they've had, even though they have a win over Oregon in their resume, I just think the playoff committee didn't like those couple games that Washington played. USC here still ranked in the top 25. They're also ranked in the AP poll. Somehow they got ranked in the playoff rankings. I don't understand why USC was ranked yesterday in the playoff rankings, but they're here at number 20. But this is definitely an upset alert type game. Obviously, it's a Pac-12 game. Anything can happen in this conference. Washington is definitely on upset alert because they're heading on the road in this game. But this is definitely going to be a high-scoring game. I do expect a lot of scoring points in this one. I mean, this game could go into the 50s perhaps and also maybe the 40s. But again, this is a very big Pac-12 game. USC obviously feels very comfortable with home field advantage. But again, USC does not have a great defense. We've seen that all year long. Washington, they may not have a really good defense either based off of that performance against Stanford this past weekend. But their offense is very explosive. Both of these offenses very explosive. 2 great quarterbacks in Michael Penix versus Caleb Williams. We'll see what happens in this game at 7:30 Eastern Time, and both of these teams did not play last year, and I'm very excited for this one. Washington, again, favored by 3.5, and the over and under is at 76. Third game, we got Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, another Big 12 game here at 3:30 Eastern Time on ABC. Oklahoma favored by 6.5, and the over and under is at 62. This is definitely a trap game here for the Oklahoma Sooners. How did they respond after a loss to Kansas this past weekend? Very tough place to play here against Oklahoma State here, especially against their rival. This is a rival game. You never know what can happen. Oklahoma State, they're ranked in my top 25. They're also ranked in the AP poll and also in the playoff rankings. They definitely deserve to be in the playoff rankings based off of what they have done in the last few weeks. They're kind of similar to Kansas State. Obviously, they have been really good in the last few weeks, and you can definitely see the improvement from this Oklahoma State team. And again, this is a rival game. This is definitely a trap game for Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma lost last year to Oklahoma State in the regular season. I'm not really sure. I have to go back and see what the game was from last year. But again, Oklahoma is the highest ranked team going into this game, but this is definitely an upset alert type game. Watch out for Oklahoma State here to make a huge upset here to happen. Not saying it's going to be an upset, but it's definitely a potential upset here. I mean, obviously Oklahoma State, if they win this game, they're definitely right there in the conversation. I mean, if both Kansas State and Oklahoma State pull off upsets this weekend against the top 2 teams in the Big 12, I mean, that's obviously a win for them. They might meet in the Big 12 championship. We never know. But again, Oklahoma's favored in this one by 6.5, and the over and under is at 62. We're expecting a lot of high scoring in this game as well. Not going to be like a shootout between Washington and USC is, but again, this will definitely be a high scoring game. And again, this game's at 3:30 Eastern Time on ABC. Let's now go to the last game now that is most likely to be an upset alert type game. It's one of the biggest games of the weekend, and College Game Day will be down here for this game. And that game is going to be LSU and Alabama, 7:45 Eastern Time on CBS. Alabama favored by 3 points, and the over and under is at 60. I done a game preview / game prediction on this game. You can go back and watch that video if you have not seen it. I am picking Alabama. Yes, I am picking Alabama to win this game by 3 points. I think they do cover that spread, but I tell you what, this is going to be a very tough game here for Alabama. A trap game here. Obviously a rival game. You never know what can happen. Obviously also a revenge game here for the Crimson Tide. They lost to this LSU team last year in a pretty close game. LSU is ranked number 14 in the playoff rankings. I don't understand why yesterday, like I said, Missouri was ahead of LSU in the playoff rankings. I don't really understand why that makes sense for the committee to do that. I think LSU definitely deserves to be at number 12. Alabama, I was fine where they were at, but, I think they should have probably be at number 9 because obviously Oklahoma has the head-to-head win over Texas, and then you got, of course, Alabama with the loss to Texas and everything. I think Alabama probably should have been at number 9. But Alabama comes into this game, they're undefeated in the SEC. This game pretty much decides the SEC West. I mean, obviously, if LSU wins this game, that definitely really gives them a head, that gives them a really good resume ahead of the playoff rankings in the near future. But again, this is the biggest game of the weekend. It's no doubt. I mean, I know there's a lot of other big games like Washington and USC, but this is definitely the biggest game. Obviously, College Game Day is going to be down here for this game. And again, it's always usually a really good game here between Alabama and LSU every single year, even though Alabama has dominated this series. But again, this game will be at 7:45 Eastern Time, a night game here on CBS. And again, Alabama here will have home field advantage, and they're favored by 3 points. And again, I'm picking Alabama to win this game just because of home field advantage, and I think maybe a turnover probably changes the game as well for both of these teams. But we'll see what happens. Again, this game decides the SEC West. If Alabama wins it, they're going to the SEC Championship. And if LSU wins it, the SEC West definitely is going to be shaken up to be a really exciting division for the rest of the year. So those are my upset alert games heading into week number 10 for the first weekend of the month of November. Give me your thoughts on these upset alert games down in the comments below. Who do you see getting beaten this weekend? Who do you see on upset alert? Let me know down in the comments below if we missed some games. And again, who do you see getting upsetted this weekend? Let me know down in the comments below. And stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports channel.